record. Case 83. Umons, the ancient Buddhas, commune with the pillars. Main subject. Umon asked his disciples, the ancient Buddhas commune with the pillars. What level of spiritual activity is this? He answered for them. Clouds gather over the southern mountains. Rain falls on the northern mountains. Secho's verse. Clouds gather over the southern mountains. Rain falls on the northern mountains. 4 sevens and 2 threes. I see them face to face. In Korea, they assemble in the Dharma Hall. In China, they have not beaten the drum or rung the bell. Joy in the midst of pain. Pain in the midst of joy. Who dares to say that gold is the same as night soil? You may turn this way. Spring Sesshin. Such a time. We've had sun. We've had stars, clouds, soft breezes, rain. And it will all come round again. All of us have been digging into the fertile ground of our true nature. Digging the compost, the manure of our lives. Such rich loam. And today we meet Umon Bunen, you heard from one of his most distinguished disciples yesterday in Jika's wonderful talk. Kyorin is sitting long and getting tired. Umon was born in 864, which was late in the Tang Dynasty. And that period, that was in the waning years of great political turbulence in China. From 842 to 845, there was terrible government persecution of Buddhism and other so-called foreign religions. And thousands of monks and nuns were forced to return to secular life, removing their robes. And thousands of monasteries and temples were destroyed. You may wonder, did they stop practicing? No. They became very subversive, guerrilla monks and nuns, not wearing kesa, but wearing the abbreviated version. The rakusu was created so that they could wear their Buddhist robes under their secular attire. Those of you who have received precepts, really keep this in mind, keep this in your hearts, how treasured the practice and the manifesting of it. Even if no one could see, they felt this. You know, the last line of our meal verse really conveys this, seeing misfortune as an offering. What do we say? In order to continue our practice for all beings, we accept this offering. Not the offering we wanted, maybe, but it's what is being offered. And into the mountains they went to continue their practice. And with this kind of ceaseless devotion, gradually that government became weaker. Buddhism had a resurgence. Now, most of you think, well, yeah, so they were Buddhists in hiding, and that didn't make the government get weaker. It just happened. There were other factors involved. Really? In our time, too. With our dedicated practice and our wise engagement, what then? Gradually, this will change. This too will become weaker. You may remember the Tibetan Buddhist teacher Robert Thurman's book titled Inner Revolution. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of real happiness. True democracy will have a resurgence because of what we are doing here. Do not doubt. You are not doing navel gazing, is that what they called it back in the 60s or something? No, this is a vibrant practice. It has effects far beyond what we can imagine. Anyway, Umon, at the age of 25, after early training with the Vinaya master, as most of the great Zen masters had, Umon went to Bokshu's place. Bokshu had been a disciple of Obaku, Rinzai's teacher, but he returned home to take care of his ailing mother. And he became a sandal maker, straw sandals, and lived as a recluse. And word got out that a brilliant Zen master was living in isolation, and a few intrepid monks would travel great distances hoping to meet with him. And one such monk was Umon. He had been practicing intensively and was struggling to clarify his mind. Who am I really? What am I here to do? How can I break free of the enchainments of karmic patterns? What is the self that seems so real, that keeps bringing suffering to me and others? This may sound familiar. We come to Zen practice. We attend Sesshin after Sesshin. And we begin to see how consumed we are by what?
The self.
And what else?
Thoughts. Thoughts.
And those thoughts often are connected to fears of making mistakes that will show others that we're not as good as we've been trying to project, right? And so this fear of making mistakes, fear of being judged, because if we're judged critically, what does that plug into?
Not good enough.
Hmm?
I'm a terrible person. I'm not good enough.
Yada, 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 right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible. I'm no good. Nobody will really like me anymore because I made this mistake. I forgot that bell. I did that bell too early. Oh my God.
You bet.
You know, we set up these ridiculous things called the procedures of Sesshin. they are wonderfully ridiculous, wonderfully helpful. You can, as Jika said, you can find places without this kind of, discipline form, and just go hang out. What's wrong? Huh? But you won't be pushed out of your comfort zone. This is really important. And the more you get pushed, the more you can hear the whining going on. I don't like this. This isn't what I came for. I need more of this. I'm not really very good at that. Why are they making me do it? Why don't somebody, you go on. And it's a litany. We could just, put our own litany in someone else's brain, and it would sound the same. Anyway, we do tend to be led around by our need to protect the self, and we're not really aware much of the time that the self is a construction. It's what Gelek Rinpoche used to call, remember? That imposter. It's not real. But we hold on tight. Yeah, this is who I am. This bag of misery. So, like Umon, we come here. How can we encounter the true self that is not subject to the endless round of conditioned and illusory thoughts? Now, you probably know the story about what happened when Umon went to see old Bokshu. It's kind of a favorite story of people practicing Zen over these past hundreds of years. Bokshu the hermit, he always kept his door shut. And when he heard someone coming, he would listen intently. And he would know everything about this person before even meeting him. Remember what Ralph Waldo Emerson said? Who you are speaks so loudly that I can't hear a word you say. So much for posturing. So, monk would knock, Bokshu would open the door slightly. Who are you? What do you want? Grab the monk. Speak. Some hesitation. They push the monk out and slam the door. And this is what happened to Umon. Who are you? I'm Umon Buden. What do you want? I'm not clear about myself. Please teach me. Bokshu grabbed him. Speak! Umon couldn't answer. Bokshu slammed the door. This happened 2 times. On the 3rd try, Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Who's there?
Umon, what do you want? As the door opened a little, Umon stuck his leg in to keep it open. Boksha grabbed him. Speak! Umon began to say something. Bokshu pushed him out and slammed the door. This time, Umon's leg was caught. And with that, wham! His leg broke, screamed in pain, and at that moment, his mind wham! Wow! Yeah, as we heard in Secho's verse, as I read to you, joy and pain. One, simultaneous, indistinguishable. It's not the way we usually think about it. Oh, I'm having so much pain. Once I get rid of this and I have the right medicine and I don't have this ailment anymore, then I'll be able to come to some spiritual attainment. Go right into, as Pema Chodron always says, the places that scare you. Three times, Umon asked. This number 3 may invite some speculation. The 3 bodies of the Buddha. The 3 treasures. The 3 periods of time. Wake up! What lies ahead? What was behind? What's right here? Already gone. Left, right, center. Do you have any other 3s for me?
Poisons.
Hmm?
The 3 poisons.
3 poisons.
Holy Trinity.
Holy Trinity.
3 meals.
Hmm?
3 meals.
If you're lucky.
3 bowls.
Hmm?
3 bowls.
3 bowls. So, yeah, we can come up with all kinds of things regarding 3, but watch out. There is, in this wham, nothing left to conceptualize about. Experience it. Just experience the joy, the pain. One plus one plus one is 3. Who said that? Hmm? Nobody remembers? John Lennon and Paul McCartney. Yeah? 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. Come together over me. Coming together. 3 coming together through this experience as one. I mentioned that Bokshu in earlier days of his life was the head monk at Obaku's place. Who was a young monk there when Bokshu was the head monk? Rinzai. Rinzai died in 867, 3 years after Umon's birth. He had been practicing at Obaku's place for 3 years. And during that time, he had never once tried to go to Doksan. His attitude was sincere and direct. He intensively gave himself to whatever was in front of him, working, sitting, chanting, without any expectation of getting something. Speaking of chanting, it is such an important way to experience this. When you give yourself entirely to the chanting, it's a very different experience. How many of you have discovered that? We chanted the Diamond Sutra, first half, this morning after hearing wonderful recitation in English, the greatest hits. It's too much to do in 2 days, okay, the English. So we selected the most important passages. And then I asked you, this is a good chance you can read along. This is the first session here that we've all had the books with the English. But did everybody hold their books and read? No, my arms are tired. This is a very important matter. Don't listen to that beleaguered sense of self you've cultivated for so many years. Why would you do that? Oh, I can hear it better if I don't watch it on the page. Don't make up such statements. To be together. Come together as one over me. We have this opportunity. And how we chant. Belt it out, honey. Don't like, kanji saibo sabyo jinanya. Anyway, so Rinzai. No Doksan, 3 years. Finally, the head monk, Bokshu, urged him, go see our master. What did Rinzai say? I don't know what to ask. So Bokshu said, well, why don't you ask, what is the quintessence of Buddha Dharma? 3 times Rinzai entered the Doksan room. 3 times he began to ask this question, and 3 times. Obaku hit him. Finally, dejectedly, Rinzai went back to Bokshu and said to him, I deplore deeply that my accumulated karmic impediments are preventing me from getting the profound meaning of Osho's intention. I have decided to leave. It's wonderful. He's not saying the circumstances aren't what I need. He's not saying, oh, this mean teacher hitting me. He's not saying, it must have been a bad question, it's the head monk's fault. He's not saying, I have had insufficient guidance during my 3 years here. He says, it's my own karmic impediments. How rare it is. Many times we have wanted to leave some situation, right? And it's always, he immediately did this. Yeah, no justification. So he went to say farewell to his teacher. Obaku did not dismiss him altogether. Instead, he said, why don't you go to Daigu's place? Daigu, do you know what that name means? Hmm? 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 Daigu. Dai means great. This is a wonderful name. Daigu, great fool. Great fool. He goes there. And he said, I asked 3 times, what is the quintessence of Buddha Dharma? And 3 times I was hit. I don't know whether or not I'm at fault. And Daigu said, Obaku is such a grandma. He completely exhausted himself for your sake. Yet you come here saying, I don't know whether I'm at fault. Hearing this, Rinzai had a great awakening. What was his state of mind? Before he heard those words, what was his state of mind? Desperate. We might also say destitute. Nothing left. Completely at a loss. We try our best not to go there. That's one of our problems. So trying to fill the sense of lack that we have. No. Anyway, back to Umon. Because Bokshu was quite old at that time, after a bit, he told Umon to go to see the great master Seppo. He had about 1,000 monks training under him. And right away, Seppo and Umon had a deep affinity. This is so important to feel this right away. And Umon spent many years there and eventually became his Dharma heir. And after a post-Satori period of pilgrimage, this kind of pilgrimage was quite traditional in China at that time, he became the head monk at another monastery. And then he was appointed abbot there by the imperial ruler. Some years later, yearning for a more secluded life, perhaps thinking back to Bokshu, he received permission to found a temple on a remote mountain. He was 64 years old when he settled on this Mount Umon. And he taught there until his death in 949 at the age of 85. As he did in today's koan, Umon often would pose a question and then answer the question himself. Both in such cases and also when responding to monks' questions, his expression was radically spare, poetic in the most profound way, completely devoid of sentiment, and directly meeting everything. This word, communion. You may know a few examples, like case 27 of the Blue Cliff Record. A monk asked, "What will it be when trees wither and leaves fall?" What did Umon say?
Golden wind.
Blah, blah, blah.
Golden wind.
And there's another word.
Golden wind.
Body revealed.
Hmm?
Golden wind, body revealed.
Revealed. Tairo Kimpu. Tairo means body revealed. Revealing the golden wind. Kimpu, golden wind. Tairo is the ordination name that I gave to Jikyo. Jikyo Tairo Zenni. And Kimpu is the Dharma name that I gave to Jonathan Swan here quite a few years ago. He is arriving later this week for Jika's transmission ceremony. And you undoubtedly know case 21 of the Mumonkan, Gateless Barrier. A monk asked, "What is Buddha?" What was Umon's response?
Kanshiketsu.
Kanshiketsu. Shit wiping stick. Seems like a shocking reply. Why? Why shocking? Well, perhaps the monk was expecting some teaching on the three bodies of the Buddha, Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya. Or maybe he was hoping for some step-by-step approach to clarifying his mind, some nice instruction manual for Kensho. formula? Do we come to Sesshin with such hopes secretly tucked away? Maybe her Teisho will give me that. Kanshiketsu! Shit wiping stick. All our hopes come crashing down. Because in our ignorance we think, what could be more the opposite of the purity of Buddha than shit, right? Well, you wouldn't say so here, but you might think that. Oh, there's Buddha. Oh, hi, Buddha. And then there's, yeah, to meet that kanshiketsu. Here, I show you. To meet this shit wiping stick. This is not iconoclastic on Umon's part. Quite the opposite. This is Buddha. Another time, a monk asked, "What is the pure body of the Buddha?" And Umon said, Kayakuran. Ka, this is a character for ka, and the character for ge. So ji ka, shinge, same kanji, flower. Flower. So Kayakuran means the flowers that are planted within the fence around a latrine, an outhouse. How beautifully they bloom. They're nourished by all that night soil, or shit. How interconnected. This is Umon's brilliance. The flower's fragrance and the smell of shit. Everything we try to keep apart, everything we want everyone to look at and appreciate, and everything we think, oh no, there's no shit here. Plumbing, yay! Very different when you don't have that lever and running water. I grew up at a time when I went to a 2-room schoolhouse in the country, and we had a latrine. There were no flowers planted around it. Another one. At my installation as abbot at Abasatsu Zendo on January 1st, 2011, I spoke on case 86 of the Blue Cliff Record. Umon addressed the assembly and said, "Each of you has your own light. If you try to see it, everything is darkness. What is your own light?" In place of his disciples, he said, "The halls and the gate." And later on, he said, "Blessing things can never be better than nothing. Such ingenious teaching. Something, no matter how wondrous, can never be better than nothing. We're always slapping something on top of something on top of something, yeah? And we wonder why we can't see what's directly in front of us. This is a wonderful mantra for us. Blessing things can never be better than nothing. Something can never be better than nothing. It really helps us avoid tendencies toward sanctimony and sentimentality. That's where the stench is, not the shit. Some kind of gilded construction that we place on top of things. We don't even notice when we're doing it. So, expectations and hopes, what happens when they're dashed? What's left? No idol worship and no idle thoughts. Sounds same, but different words. Same, but different. Nothing to hold on to. So we come face to face with all our shit. Right there in the midst of it. Wow. This kanjiketsu is a miracle. But we don't get it because we reject, perhaps out of our own pain, right? We're seeking something that will make us feel better. And shit on a stick, ain't it? That's another version. We want a Band-Aid. So yes, we are all wounded by the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Who said that?
Hamlet.
Yeah, Hamlet's famous soliloquy. Huh? What's his famous soliloquy?
To be or not to be.
To be or not to be. And of course, we get caught in that dualism, right? What we want, what we don't want, what we like, what we don't like. Wounded, wounded. What are we wounded by? One of the interesting things that happens when you're sitting in session is that there are a lot of things that come up, yeah? Painful things. Maybe in our current situation, maybe in many, many years, long time ago, some kind of adversity, old things that happened to us. And of course, right here, right ahead. Some of you are so young. It's amazing to me. Because I started out when I was very young. And so it brings it back. It's just beautiful to see your sweet faces. Yeah. But many of us, are looking at old age, sickness, and death, as the young Prince Gautama did when he left the palace. So I think sometimes we have this tendency to want to distract ourselves from what we're seeing. And we build up a defense system. An ego entity, a personality, a self-identity, as we have heard today in the Diamond Sutra. And what? We find out that it doesn't seem to work very well. So to be or not to be, how about both and? To be and not to be. As Dogen said, life, death. Not life until death. So let's be and not to be. We, in our dedicated practice, particularly at Sesshin, we see more and more clearly how we are the cause of our own suffering. Therefore, the good news is we are the cause of our own awakening. Causes and conditions. When we jump right into the same cycle of conditioned behaviors, blaming others, craving approval, hankering after security, shying away from anything that might threaten our construction of this separate self. What about when we see that we're doing that? What about when we see it right away? Oh yeah, I see. I know that thing that happens. It's very familiar. That, when we really see, this is Sesshin eyes, okay? When we really see it, that's when the deep and piercing intention to stop can cause true transformation. Conditions, causes. We can cause this alchemy to occur. Right in the midst. Here it comes again, comes around again. Stop. And this was the Buddha's and all the great ancestors' great teaching, DIY. You understand? Everybody understands what DIY is? Huh? Ruth? Yes? No? DIY. When you go to Lowe's and you say, I'm doing this project, I'm doing it myself, I'm not getting a contractor. And they look at you and they say, really? Do it yourself. Yeah, that's the teaching, right? Don't take my word for it, the Buddha said. DIY. Be the cause of your own awakening. Realize this. Then indeed all are blessed. And this is where Umon is speaking from in today's koan and in all of his expressions. He asks his disciples today, the ancient Buddhas commune with the pillars. What level of spiritual activity is this? No one could speak. So he answered, clouds gather over the southern mountains. Rain falls on the northern mountains. We've been poring over the Shurangama Sutra in Dharma study. How many of you have joined us either online or in person? You're crazy not to join us. It's so easy. You have a computer. It's a Sunday afternoon, once a month. No matter where you live, jump on. Because Shurangama Sutra is incredible. And this past Sunday, we were seeing and identifying with the way Ananda was trying to figure out the Buddha's question. He tried to figure it out so hard. He came into all possible answers to the question, where is the mind? I'm sure you have grappled with this. Where is the mind? Ananda tries this, he tries that. Nothing works. Why? It actually tells us in the Shurangama Sutra.
He was thinking. He was trying to use his intellect.
Conditioned mind. Yeah, conditioned mind. Rather than the innate power of the unlimited, fundamental mind each one of us has. This is D-I. What? D-I-Y. Your unlimited power, each of you. So poor Ananda, he believes in something, not in nothing. And something, 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 something. We still haven't gotten past that section. He has a lot of somethings left. So next time you can join. And yesterday, what did we chant? Yogonshu, which is the esoteric mantra of the Shurangama Sutra. That section of that sutra. And even if you didn't fully realize the power of that mantra, it was meeting the true self within each of you. This power is calling you. That's the significance of a mantra. You are entering into the field of its energy. And it's not something out there. It is inviting you to be who you truly are. Wonderful? This is what we offer here. Such an amazing thing, I tell you. So and Roshi did this calligraphy, Myochi Riki. When you leave, you can take a look. It means Myochi. Myo is wondrous. Chi is wisdom. This was the name that Myo-on Maureen gave me at my lay ordination. And the third character, the kanji, is Riki, which means what we're talking about. Power. This is not power like the unmentionable who's great. Avatar of Buddha. Not that kind of power. But this spiritual activity. And this, the more we do this kind of practice, something shifts. Faith in mind builds. We can trust this. It's not something that we construct. It's already. So, the ancient ones, the Buddhas, the enlightened ones, coming from emptiness, seeing the emptiness of all things, one with the pillars, the floors, the halls and the gate. No thought about it. Whatever is manifesting as form, they are it. Whatever returns to no form, they are that. No gap. So look, you see? At Daibusatsu Zendo in the Dharma Hall, there are actual pillars. Here we have pillars. These pillars that support the altar were cut from trees on this property. And the altar itself was built using some of the wainscoting that had been in this building before it burned in the fire that we had on October 12th, 1998, 6 days before my transmission ceremony. Building gone. Did we say, okay, we can't do it? No, it wasn't 8:45 in China, but it was 1998 in Syracuse. So, big tent, no problem. Beautiful. And then sorting through various things, and we built this. So in our usual way of thinking, we think, oh, pillars, they're inanimate objects, incapable of communing, conversing, relating. And we see, oh, Buddhas, capable of conveying the truth of the universe. But what happens? What happens when we see that way, in that limited mindset? We cannot fathom what is always dynamically manifesting. So this is the koan. This is what the koan today is showing us. It is communion with Buddhas and the pillars. And so it isn't a matter that floors are for walking, pillars are for supporting. We tend to think that way. Maybe we can grasp the possibility that trees and mushrooms commune, but somehow we don't see insentient things doing that. Yet, the national teacher Echu, Nanyo Echu Zenji, a Dharma heir of the sixth ancestor, taught insentient creatures expound the Dharma. The pillars, the walls and the gate, the floors, the mats. And Tozan Ryokai, who was co-founder of the Soto Zen school, was awakened by digging into this saying. And he wrote a verse. Wonderful, wonderful. Sermons by insentient creatures. You fail to hear if you listen with your ears. Listen with your eyes, and you hear them. Not only the ancient Buddhas, all of us can enter into this rapt, listening, this deep gaze of just listening with our eyes. And realize that all creatures, sentient and insentient, present, past, future, are in the spiritual activity of perfect communion. So Umon had to answer on behalf of his monks, as usual, and his response to his own question about spiritual activity. Clouds gather over the southern mountains. Rain falls on the northern mountains. This is dynamic manifesting of innen, interrelated communion of causation. Or as Buddhism puts it, dependent co-arising. Clouds gather here, rain falls there. A butterfly flutters its wings in Mexico. A typhoon roars in Sri Lanka. This is a metaphor from chaos theory. It sounds quite like Buddhism. All our actions, our words, our thoughts have consequences in a vast system of interconnectedness. All are interwoven beyond calculation. All are blessed. And Secho's verse, he is in such complete communion with Umon, all he can do in the first two lines is use exactly that. Clouds gather, rain falls. 4 7s and 2 3s, you might have wondered about that. 4 times 7 is
28.
28, right? No problem. 28 ancestors in India. Okay, now we're going somewhere. 2 3s. 2 times 3? 6. Bodhidharma. Okay, we chant in the lineage. Bodhi Dharma Daishi Eka Dai So Zenji. True. So Zangan Chi Zenji. Do Shin Dai Izenji. Gunin Dai Man Zenji. And Eno Dai Kan Zenji. 6. Yeah. In Korea, they assemble in the Dharma hall. In China, they have not beaten the drum or rung the bell. In Syracuse, we have spring Sesshin. At Daibosatsu Zendo, not yet Nyogen Senzaki Sesshin. Soon. Space, time, this moment, not now and then. Clouds gather, rain falls. And the final line, joy in the midst of pain. Pain in the midst of joy. No problem there. We get it. Who dares to say that gold is the same as night soil? Very rarely do we walk around saying, my money is shit, right? But it's based on a story about 2 political people in China, and they were so close. They felt that their friendship was beyond differentiation. And so they came up with this saying, gold is the same as night soil. They're so intimate. But then what happened? Their deep friendship turned to terrible enmity. There was a war on. One went this way, one went that way, one was killed. So much for gold is no different from shit. And there's a very important saying in Buddhism. Sameness without differentiation is not true sameness. Differentiation without sameness is not true differentiation. And you know this. You know we are all here in one mind. We are this communion. And at the same time, completely unique. Look around. Do you see yourself? What do you say? I'll give you a hint. Yes and no.